Hello guys, today we're gonna be talking about the newest tech tree we have in the game for the Dutch light cruisers, ending up with the Utrecht. So if you want to know what the ship is, how to actually correctly utilize all of its potential, and if it's actually worth it for you, this video is gonna have all the answers to those questions. First of all, let's quickly go through the tech tree. Up to tier 7 you have the common part with the good and do, and nothing really changes. I spoke a little bit about it in the good and do guide, but those are generally just okayish light cruisers that play like classic light cruisers, just poke around from behind the island. Once you get the Dutch airstrike, you can kinda poke with it as well, but it's nothing special. The Utrecht tech tree actually starts at tier 8, and to be fair, tier 8, tier 9 and tier 10 from this particular tech tree are literally the same thing. The only thing that changes is that you get better stats and maybe like one more gun. You have the same consumables, you have the same armor scheme, same citadel shape, basically anything that is just changed throughout tier 8 to tier 10 are just numbers to adjust for the tier, and obviously you get more modules. And that's basically it, so you play it exactly the same, so whatever I say for Utrecht and others is gonna apply to tier 8 and tier 9. But what are the properties of Utrecht? First of all are the Dutch gimmicks. You have the airstrike with 14 kilometers of range, a little bit smaller area of impact than the good and do, and the planes are a little bit less durable, but you have very short cooldown on each of the drops. Ship's concealment is also incredibly good, making so that you can actually stealth drop those without a problem. Just like every other Dutch cruiser, Utrecht is also equipped with very powerful AA, making so that you have over 700 DPS at close range, which is for Utrecht below 4 kilometers. This is, by the way, much better than what Ragnar has. Utrecht is also equipped with very good 128mm guns that have incredibly good 32mm base HE pen, so that you can pen almost every single battleship there is. Those guns also, for some whatever reason, have more range than the Des Moines 203s. Ship has its downsides though. First, very noticeable one is that you lack HP. Second is that you lack armor, meaning that you're gonna explode very easily without them actually even needing to citadel you in the first place. Ship also lacks ASFW that is droppable by planes. It has the DD1, making it incredibly weak against submarines, and the ship also lacks Hydro, and we all know what happens to cruisers that do not really have Hydro. Ship, however, is equipped with engine boost, meaning that you can actually be very maneuverable on the battlefield. In terms of upgrades, you kinda go for the standard one. You can think of using the engine boost call upgrade, but it's not really that necessary. What is important are the last 3 upgrades. On the 4th slot, you want to mount the airstrike upgrade, as it's gonna be very crucial for the rest of your build. For the 5th slot you want to go with the concealment, and for the 6th one you want to go for the reload and not more range. For the captain build, go with the standard one for the light cruisers. However, there's a very nice pick, which is heavy HE, which you can mount with no penalties whatsoever. For flags, go for the standard ones. Okay, but what's about the playstyle? Well, playstyle of Utrecht is actually kinda simple. First of all, you need to utilize your biggest advantages, which is the fact that you can drop and deal damage without risking actually anything using your Dutch airstrike. So what you want to do at the start of the game is play a little bit safe. Try to find a position near the middle of the map, or if you spawn on the flank, that is a little bit towards the middle of the map but behind the cover. Your aim is to have enough range to cover the positions which enemy battleships would want to go, or cruisers like Des Moines or Stalingrad would want to take. Then once this kind of ships get detected, you try to farm them with your airstrike and maybe poke them with your main guns from behind cover. Most important part is that in the early game you want to stay alive as much as possible. Do not risk too much. Through the mid to late game, this is where you can actually start using your ship more properly, as enemies will try to either push towards you or kite away. When they are pushing towards you, you want to run and use your airstrike in order to set them on fire again and engage in a very short fight so that you can set them on fire permanently, as this is your main source of damage. Not depends, the fires. If you make it to the late game, it's basically just free real estate, as most of the Ds are already gone, pre-farming the ships that are remaining, and using your concealment and the range of your Dutch airstrike, it's fairly easy. But not to just leave you with this very little information, analyze an example of the game. In this match, I spawned on the flank, and to support my DD and establish a strong presence on it, I tried to move a little bit closer to the cap while taking cover behind island. This way I can still strike enemies with my Dutch airstrike from a secure position. After zoning out enemy battleships and cruisers and getting this triple permafire on this devastation, I actually move out of this position since there is not gonna be anyone within my range anymore. Have to be a little bit wary about possible cross shots since I was still detected by enemy destroyer. However, my presence here severely disencouraged them to actually try to make a push. This way we secured this flank and I, still using cover of islands, moved a little bit closer to the middle. Securing this kill on Ushakov with my airstrike and then trying to help our team to finish off the Gooden loop. After reaching this big island, I used my airstrike to further discourage devastation from actually making a move, and in here I also managed to proc all the perks of my special Dutch commander, which is, by the way, one of the best commanders you can put on this tech tree. Not only it increases the damage of the shells and the airstrike with for every 50,000 damage done up to 3 times, but it also gives you one extra possible airstrike charge when you hit enough bombs, and here on the Witherer achievement it also gives you bonus reload. Using those perks, I actually managed to gun down this Des Moines on open water, which was not that big of a deal since I pen in borderline everywhere, and he doesn't really have a way to deal with me at this distance. Remember when I said this distance, because if we were point blank, he would win definitely. Now I move a little bit closer to another island to ambush this Dalarna together with my friend in the DD. I anticipated enemy torpedoes coming, however, I still got a little bit unlucky and got one on the nose, but that's not a big deal. After killing this Dalarna, the game was basically over. I went over to A-Cap trying to finish up this battleship for a little bit extra damage, but it was generally well executed match. So to sum up, Utrecht is very reliable damage dealing light cruiser. However, it's not that flashy like Colbert could be, or Worcester, or any of the other bigger cruisers like Des Moines or Salem. So you need to be wary that you're not gonna make that many flashy plays. If you guys found this guide to be a interesting one and useful one, and you want more, well, leave your thoughts in the comments, like and subscribe, and see you next time. Signing out.